We take out celebrities too. Actually, that little hat right there, that's Michelle Pfeiffer. She was aboard. I said, "Are you Michelle? You look like Michelle Pfeiffer." She said, "I am." And she said, "This is so cool, so great, so beautiful. You should bring this to California, to Hollywood." I said, "We're full up right now with New England, but thank you." Really nice lady. She was very seasick. We did uncle, aunt, and 2 dogs, all mixed together. You ever hear about the Rockefeller case? You know, that bad case last year? This guy's the judge right here. Judge Gaziano. Remember that name, Judge Gaziano? Anyway, I just picked these 2 slides because the lighting was good and they showed. The average number of people are about 20 to 25. Our sweet spot is 20 to 25 people, and it's about a 3-hour event. So we, next slide please. We see some pretty beautiful things out there, some sunsets, some sunrises, some natural, next slide we'll see the animals. It's a humpback whale on your right. There's a whole population of seals down off of Monomoy. People love to see this stuff. They want to be with the whales. They want to be with the seals. 20,000 seals off of Monomoy, which is on the backside of Chatham. Those dolphins, those are Atlantic white-sided dolphins in the lower left. They swim in packs of thousands. There's plenty of food here. Stowwagon Bank is one of the richest areas to fish and whale watch in the country. It's one of 11 different marine sanctuaries. Next slide, please. And we use different types of vessels. So we have like Sears, good, better, and best. Some people want to go really cheap. We get the call today. I want to go out and come back in an hour. So we can't do that. You've got to go 3 miles. It takes time. Okay, we'll go out and come back and take the time and just dump the ashes. I said, well, we're not going to do that because this is a ceremony and this is not this, you know. And so you have to kind of talk people off the cliff. And we have a very nice service that's unattended and photo documented for $400, or we have a very nice service. The average is about $900 to $1,200. And we've had some that go up to $60,000. Not because we charge that much, but 300 people, full food, full bar, full band. That's what people do. The vessel in the middle is a nice vintage vessel from Maine, and the vessel in the lower right is the one we take 200 or 300 or 400 people out at a time. I'm sorry to be in your way. And the vessels on the left are the more sport-oriented. We take up to 6 people out. Next slide, please. So the culture change today is celebration and family together and not crying, remembering. With the advent of the flat screen TV on board a boat today, my God, you ought to see the DVDs that people put together. It's really pretty touching. Next slide, please. This is what an ash scattering looks like, or a cremated remains scattering. And I encourage people to go very slowly, not do the quick dump, because I like them to hand it to every single person on the boat so they had a chance to scatter their loved one. And it's beautiful. But you have to position the boat properly for the wind and the current. If not, you get what? Blowback. Ash blowback. And what do they call it on the Cape when you try to do it in the Island Queen, going from Falmouth over to the islands? The station wagon effect. When you were a kid and you threw the popcorn out the window and the window was open and it came back in, that's exactly what happens. You need to stop, anchor, properly point towards the wind and have the current coming towards you, and then you have a beautiful event. That was a trade secret I just shared with you, but I'm happy to do that because I'm here at MIT. Next slide, please. This is where cremated remains travel. Pretty cool. Aunt Millie from Rockland, who never traveled, is now traveling, and families get great comfort with that. You all think this is funny. What are you laughing at? So when they travel in this kind of this clockwise up to Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, over to Europe, African Peninsula, down through the Bahamas, back up the East Coast when they catch the Gulf Stream. And people really, really like that. What's typically included is you get the crew, the beverages, the food, light food. We take you 3 miles to sea. The crew, as I mentioned, I'm sorry, repeating, a Google overhead shot, which is this shot in the upper right-hand corner to show you the topography of where you were. We do the service for you. We help you design it, and or we let you do it, or your clergy. Only one priest has ever come aboard in the last 2 or 3 years, and people prefer to have a captain read it. A sea burial certificate, which, could you hold that up for me? That's a certificate that, actually, that's from my cousin John. We scattered his cremated remains up in Maine, and the reason why I have that is because That was the first one we had a photo. We're trying to have people really memorialize their folks and have something that they can hang, which they want. They all want these. They're signed, they're ship sealed and everything. Then they get a little bottle with the ship's water, and the culture is they want a memento. So they get water, they get stones, and they get some of the sea bottom, all hand-dipped, hand-hanked, and that's a nice thing they can put in their desk. Next slide, please. Now, back in the burials at sea for the bodies way back when, you were done in your hammock. What I did was develop this with a sailmaker in Scituate, a Navy veteran sailmaker, and this is the Atlantic Sea Burial Shroud. Now, it's made of an organic cotton that degrades, and if you want something truly super organic without any vegetable dye in it, we have the unbleached, undyed version of it. It's an 8 to 10 ounce cotton duck. So what happens is Uncle Fred will go in here. You peel back the privacy parlor. By the way, this is a miniature version. This isn't for short people. This is so I can do presentations. And it's not a kid's version or anything like that. I can carry it around when I can park out here and drive up. You know, it's a lot easier than carrying a 6-footer. So Uncle Fred goes in there. He doesn't have bubble wrap. That's for something else. And then the family can choose to adorn the pallbearer strap. Flags, if they like. Fleur-de-lis. By the way, you put your picture here, or a cookie, or a medal, and then Dad or Grandpa will miss you, or U.S. Corporal, whatever. And then this goes in the ocean like this. Goes down very quickly with 150 pounds in it. The air comes out of these blowholes, and that allows sea life to go in and do what sea life does. Also, body gases come out. We work with the Navy on this as well. So this will sit on the ocean floor like this. Sometimes they may sit like this. When this all biodegrades in 90 days to 180 days. 90 to 180 days. And we don't use tungsten thread. We use cotton thread. What happens is the only thing that's left is the cannonball. 4 of them, and they become their own reef. The Atlantic Burial Shroud. So old Ironsides, that's the way they did it, that's the way we do it, and that's how we sink them. Next slide, please. And we don't have to read all that, but that's a little bit what our sail loft looks like. That's how the cannonballs are poured in the molten pig iron is what it's called. And they come in different colors, and that's white down here. And believe it or not, my sister's in that, and she's telling me, take the picture, but we needed a model to fill that out. So Cynthia's in there, and she's doing just fine. Next slide, please. We use some ocean-friendly products, and the one in the upper left-hand corner is called the Great Burial Reef. That's what it looks like. We'll talk about that in a second. This is a product that we don't use. I'm showing this because this is called a sea urn. It's made of like a rock candy, and it's made to disintegrate as soon as you put it in. So it does this, and it does, you know, shakes, and it does that with the ocean. But the problem is when the boat is on its way out, it's so fragile that they break. So the last thing you want to do is be playing somewhere over the rainbow or whatever you're playing, and you hand this to the family, and all of a sudden the thing just breaks. So we don't sell it. That's why we're showing it to you. Okay? We make these wreaths in Massachusetts. They're shipped around the country. It's a real twine, natural, ocean-friendly product, and that's the shroud. Next slide, please. How much do they cost? About 1/3 of an expensive funeral. Depends on how far we go out and how many people we take. These are some scenes. It's a pretty incredible scene. What they did, and I like what Ruth is doing, because when you have something that people can write on, they feel part of it. Everybody gets a Sharpie, and they love that. And that's the size boat we use, and that's what the event looked like. That's what it looked like going down. And as soon as he went over, we had about 80 to 100 dolphins came out of the water. It was amazing, because dolphins are very curious, and the family all started crying, and I said, how'd you do that? And I said, the dolphin button. They're just very, very curious, and it was very natural. Next, please. The Artificial Living Reef Program is pretty cool. We use this special concrete that has a microsilica in it that attracts growth. So you then put mom and dad or grandpa and grandmother or just one person in the cavity that's watertight. And then this goes over the side, And it looks like this in just about 90 days' time. So you can, and we're working right now on getting this approval in Cape Cod Bay for 20 underwater acres. We already have the approval down in Annapolis. These are done frequently in Florida. So you can go to Grandpa's Reef and fish as a kid. Fish love structure, by the way. Striped bass love this. Oysters love it for propagation. There's a lot of bi benefit. And you can also dive to the reef, so it's pretty cool. Next slide, please.
Did you say it was waterproof?
Inside that container that the cremated remains go into.
Oh, so that wouldn't be for a full body.
That's for cremated remains, correct. So why a burial reef? For 12 years, they've been in a constant design evolution. They use 100% natural ingredients in the concrete base. They weigh 600 pounds. Why 600 pounds? Good student. Can withstand the rigors of a force 4 hurricane. And that's why people say, hey, can I, Catholic religions, I'm Catholic. We can't separate Dad from that urn. It's against the Roman Catholic rule. I tell them, do what you feel. And if you put the urn that's marble, I only allow people to put stone or marble or anything if they're going to use a real urn overboard. And we go out instead of 3 miles, maybe 10 miles. Why? It's going to end up on the beach. It's a bowling ball at the bottom of the ocean. We want people to not use urns. If they use urns, something that's paper mache, it'll disintegrate right away. Next slide, please. So the dockside reef prep for that's pretty cool. You can come up, you can see it, touch it, feel it. Next, please. And that's what it looks like, what we chatted about. Next, please. To become a captain, no, you just can't go. The Boston Globe kept asking me, well, can anybody do this? I said, yeah, anybody can do it. But if you take people out for hire, meaning they pay for your fuel, they buy your cookies, they do whatever, you've got to be a licensed captain. I'm a licensed captain. This is what it takes to become a licensed captain. To take more than 6 people, you've got to have 720 documented days at sea. You've got to pass a gazillion questions with a 90 or better, 75% in some. You've got to be physically fit. You've got to have recommendations. You can't be a terrorist. You've got to have good credentials to become a captain. And then you can take people for hire to sea. It's as difficult as becoming a maritime captain is difficult or more difficult than becoming an airline pilot. Next, please. So what we talked about today was our at-sea events, the number of boats we have. We react in 48 hours because the 48-hour rule is the cremation rule. And but if Uncle Fred's been in the closet with the ski poles, then we can react next day as long as weather's permitting. We have 28 different boats that can do this simultaneously. It's not just me. We have people that are trained that go through captain school. We have a tuition reimbursement plan for that. And that's who we're recommended by. Next slide, please. So I didn't make all these statistics up. They're real. You can check these out if you have an interest in death and dying. How many people die per year? 1%, or 3 million. Of that 3 million, how many people die in Massachusetts?
None.
53,000. There are 543 funeral homes. I think Paul said 574, so we won't split hairs on that. But if each funeral home does about 100 cases per year, 115 cases per year, that's about the right number. So there's 53 or 54,000 deaths per year. And how many people are being cremated? This is a big cultural change. The funeral homes used to be doing $4 million. Now, take that same 100 cases and say 40% of cremation at $1,200. So 40% of 100 is 40 times, let's say, for easy math, $1,500. That's $600,000. So that $4 million has just got a $600,000 haircut. So we're down to 3.4. But the average funeral home does a couple $1 million, okay? So 3.4 million. So they're losing a ton of dough because of this whole cultural change of being cremated, not leaving a carbon footprint. And you were talking earlier about what do you do with these cremated remains when you get them home. We're one avenue for that. There are airplanes. There are hot air balloons. There are, you can't bury at sea legally in the rivers, lakes, and streams. We had a fellow that was cited in the Boston Globe. His name is Bob Hamilton, I think. It's in the Globe. He came out of the shop and he got a shroud custom design. He wants a window. Pretty cool. Bob Kimball's his name. Because he wants to see what's going down when he goes down. But he also wanted the window so his family can see him one last time. So I'll end on that.
Thank you for your time.